He walked into the hospital for a business meeting, but the three little girls waiting in the hallway turned his whole world upside down, past and future. And in that moment, he realized, some doors don't just open, they lead you back to who you really are. And if you felt a man becoming a father, and a quiet woman finding her strength again, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. When Michael Carter walked into the hospital, there was only one thing on his mind: the meeting. At the top of the business world, every minute of his life was scheduled down to the second. He was there to finalize a funding deal, cool, calculated, and known for never mixing emotion with duty. His suit was flawless, his shoes shined like mirrors. As he stepped off the elevator on the 4th floor, he was headed straight to the boardroom until a single moment changed everything. Right in the middle of the hallway stood three little girls, hand in hand. All three wore matching pale pink dresses. Their eyes were red from crying, their faces tired. One clutched an old stuffed bunny like it was her lifeline. Another rubbed her eyes. The smallest one stared quietly at the floor. Michael slowed. His eyes locked on the smallest girl. She looked up at him, and in that glance, he saw his own eyes staring back. He froze, couldn't move forward. Logic told him to keep walking, but something deeper screamed at him to stop. There were no nurses in sight, no adults, just the three of them, completely alone. Michael took a slow step forward, then crouched down. His voice softened. "Hey there, are you okay? Are you waiting for someone?" The tallest one nodded. "Our mom's in the ICU. We're not allowed to see her yet." Michael swallowed. "Is someone coming to be with you?" All three shook their heads at the same time. The one with the bunny whispered, "We don't have anyone. Just our mom." Michael's chest tightened. He didn't know why he was still crouching there, talking to these kids. But he couldn't walk away. Something about them, something in their eyes, had stirred a silence inside him he hadn't felt in years. The littlest one stepped closer. "Do you work here?" "No," Michael said. "I'm just here." She tilted her head slightly. "Mom said someone like you might come." Michael's heart nearly stopped. He had no idea what to say. For the first time in his life, he felt completely unmoored. Something had cracked open quietly, but deeply. He asked their names: Sophie, Lily, and Nora. Each name echoed with a strange familiarity, like fragments from a past he had tried to forget. When he finally asked for their mom's name, he felt the air leave his lungs. Emily. That name wasn't just familiar, it was unforgettable. 5 years ago, they had shared something brief, but unforgettable. Then she left. No goodbye, just a note. Michael stood and walked straight to the nurse's station. His voice was calm, but firm. "There are 3 children standing outside the ICU alone. Why isn't anyone with them?" The nurse shrugged. "Emily Parker's kids. They've been there all day. We're understaffed." Michael's voice cut sharper now. "They're 5. And terrified. Is no one responsible here?" The nurse promised to call social services, but Michael was already walking away. Back to the girls. Back to what no longer felt like coincidence. He didn't want to leave. He couldn't. These kids weren't just in need. They might be his. And in that quiet moment, something inside his perfectly ordered world began to shift, quietly, but irreversibly. Michael couldn't just walk away from those 3 little girls. It felt like someone had opened a chapter of his life that had been sealed shut for years. Sophie, Lily, and Nora. Even just hearing their names made something deep inside him tremble. And then came that name, Emily. 5 years ago, he could still hear her voice if he closed his eyes. Emily's laugh. The way she once looked at him, like he was the only man in the world. But then she disappeared. No argument, no drama. Just a note. "I want something real and steady," she had written. "I hope someday you find it too." He hadn't. Not until now. In that moment, whatever was waiting behind the boardroom door didn't matter anymore. The file he came for meant nothing. What mattered now were the questions in the eyes of those 3 girls. Even an adult would have crumbled under the weight of that ICU door. How were they managing? No one was helping them. That made his chest burn even more. He gently led them to the waiting area, reached out his hand, not as a stranger, but almost like he was silently saying, "I'm here now. You're not alone." They started talking, quietly, cautiously, about cartoons, their favorite colors, and their mother, Emily. "Mom always kisses us in the same order every night," said Lily. Sophie added, "She makes up a new song before bed." Nora stayed silent, just hugged that worn-out bunny tighter. But her eyes, they spoke. Softly, deeply. Michael realized something. He didn't know these girls, not really. But the idea of walking away from them felt like tearing out a piece of himself. Then the social worker showed up, clipboard in hand, eyes tired. The girls were taken to a small playroom filled with toys. Michael followed, stayed by their side. He told the worker only one thing. I used to know their mother very well, and maybe I still matter for them. That night, he didn't leave the hospital. He missed the meeting, didn't care. Emily was unconscious, fighting for her life. Machines tracking every breath, and no one else was there for her. Only these three tiny humans. And now, maybe him. One question started to haunt him. Why? Why hadn't she told him? Why hadn't she reached out? Or had she been trying to protect him? Piece by piece, the past came back. Maybe Emily's silence wasn't abandonment, maybe it was a shield. A sacrifice. And now, the children she left behind had no one else. Michael found himself at the ICU door. Then inside. When he saw her, his heart nearly stopped. Her face was pale, her hair clung to her forehead with sweat. He gently took her hand. I don't know what happened to you, he whispered, but I understand what happened to us. He told her about the girls, how they waited, how they didn't cry or complain, just wanted their mom. And then, something shifted. Emily's fingers moved. Maybe just a reflex. But for Michael, it was everything. It was hope. He stayed by her side all night. In the morning, the girls were still there. And Michael was too, with breakfast in his hands and a quiet resolve in his heart. There was no going back now. That morning, he made a decision. This story, he wasn't walking away from it. That morning, Michael woke up a different man. Not thinking about stock reports or to-do lists. No. The only thing on his mind was the image of three little girls curled up together on a waiting room bench, fast asleep in each other's arms. And Emily, pale, still unconscious, her eyes refusing to open. He arrived at the hospital early. The hallways were quiet, the shift nurses changing over. Hands in his pockets, he walked toward the ICU with a quiet sense of purpose. Emily's condition hadn't changed. Not better, not worse. But Michael had. He was no longer just watching. He was in it. Committed. Each morning, he greeted her like she could hear him. That morning, he took her hand again and whispered softly, Emily, I'm still here. Every morning, I sit by your side. But I'm not just waiting for you anymore. I'm waiting for our girls. Yes, our girls. As the words left his lips, even he was surprised by how easily they came. No DNA test had confirmed anything. But in his heart he knew. Sophie's determination, Lily's endless questions, Nora's deep, quiet stare. They weren't strangers. They were part of him. That afternoon, he met again with Marissa, the social worker. But this time, he wasn't asking about visitation. He wanted to talk custody. He went through every file, every document, learning the process, preparing for it. There was no maybe in his mind anymore. But there was one more thing. I want a DNA test, he told her. I don't want to wait. Marissa gave him a long look. This process can be tough, she said. If your expectations are high, it might hurt. Michael didn't blink. I know, but I don't have any doubts left. That evening, he brought the girls home. And suddenly, a minimalist glass and steel CEO apartment was filled with giggles, footsteps, and flying stuffed animals. Laughter echoed off the cold walls. Designer furniture disappeared under plush toys and pink blankets. And as Michael ordered pizza in the kitchen, he finally realized his life had already changed. The girls hadn't just come into his home. They had moved straight into his heart. Before bed, each one picked a different bedtime story. They wanted different characters, different voices. So Michael performed 3 voices, 3 worlds. They laughed. They cuddled. And all 3 fell asleep in the same bed, tangled in each other like puzzle pieces finally fitting together. Michael stood at the doorway for a long time. His eyes brimmed with tears. That image, 3 small figures sleeping in peace, filled a space in him that had been empty for years. He whispered quietly, "You're not alone anymore. And neither am I." Michael no longer missed his old life. These days, he didn't start his mornings with a tailored suit. He started them with 3 different hairbrushes. Lily wanted braids, Sophie refused any clips, and Nora just needed her bunny nearby to get ready. And Michael was learning it all. The car that used to be reserved for business meetings was now filled with tiny shoes, juice stains on the back seat, and fingerprints smudged across the windshield. And he adored every bit of it. But every morning, after the school drop-off run, he returned to one place, the hospital, to Emily. The woman who had once left him with a note was now lying quietly in a hospital bed, fighting to stay alive. Michael was there every single day. He talked to her like she could hear him, told her about the girls, their silly breakfast stories, their new morning rituals. He described the way their laughter filled his home, the way they carried her with them in every drawing, every bedtime song. Then one day, just before noon, Emily's hand moved again. Michael nearly dropped his coffee. A nurse rushed in, checked the monitors, and looked up at him. This might be a sign she's waking up. Michael held his breath. He didn't move. Minutes passed, not hours, but they felt like an entire lifetime compressed into stillness. And then, Emily's eyes fluttered open. She stared at the ceiling, dazed, trying to adjust to the light. Then slowly, she turned her head and looked at him. And with a single word, the world began again. Michael. He smiled, tears rushing to his eyes. I'm here. I've been here all along. Her eyes welled up. Her lips trembled. Her voice was faint but clear. The girls. Are they? Michael took her hand, squeezed it gently. They're okay. They stayed with me. They waited for you every day. They sang your songs. They kept your drawings. They love you so much, Emily. Emily broke down. Softly. Fragile. All the fear, the exhaustion, the longing she'd buried over the years spilled out in tears. I couldn't tell you, she whispered. I was scared. I didn't want to be a burden. I was afraid. What if you didn't want me? Michael shook his head, tears falling freely now. I didn't know, but the moment I saw them, everything made sense. And I didn't leave. I'm not leaving. In that moment, every silence between them finally began to speak. Michael told her how the girls had grown, how Nora still didn't talk much, but now reached for his hand, how Lily asked every morning, "Where's Mommy?" How Sophie tried to be strong, like nothing was wrong, but her drawings told the truth. Emily smiled, a real, tired, but deeply human smile. The doctor came in. Emily was slowly stabilizing. Yes, rehab would be needed. Yes, recovery would take time. But there was something they hadn't had before: hope. That night, Michael brought the girls to the hospital. Not into her room, just to the observation window. When Emily saw them, her eyes filled again. She placed her hands against the glass, and all three girls pressed their tiny hands right back, mirroring her. Then, in perfect silence, they mouthed the same words, "We love you." Nora held up a drawing. For figures, a family, and beneath it, in shaky, crayon-written letters, home. And behind that glass, from the deepest quiet she had ever known, Emily began to cry. And Michael, he whispered inside his heart, "This is our second chance. And this time, we're not alone." Emily's hospital room was no longer just a space for treatment. It had become the spark of something new. Every day, she was getting better. She could speak again, sit up for short periods, and read the notes her daughters had written with her own hands. And Michael? He wasn't just showing up at the hospital anymore. He was showing up for her. And the girls. They found new ways to reach her heart each time they visited. Sophie never stopped asking, "How are you today?" Lily brought her stories, then rushed through every word in breathless excitement. Nora said nothing. She just held her mother's hand and never let go. One afternoon, Michael stood by the window with Marissa, the social worker. In her hands, a folder of custody documents. This wasn't about temporary guardianship anymore. This was a conversation about family. Marissa handed him the papers. Michael looked once, nodded. "I'm not doing this out of obligation," he said. "I'm choosing them." That night, he told Emily everything. About the new schools, the breakfast chaos, the pasta wars, the pillow fights, all of it. Emily listened quietly. "They love you so much," she said. Michael smiled. "I love them too. Every morning when I wake up, they remind me why I'm alive. And you know what else? I love you too." Emily was quiet, then turned her head to him. "You've changed," she said softly. "You're gentler now, but stronger. You used to have no room in your heart. Now you carry the entire universe inside you." Michael didn't look away. "That's because I've found my universe. This home, these three little girls, and you." That day, Emily signed the documents. There were no more barriers to guardianship. But for Michael, the only approval that truly mattered was the way the girls laid their heads on his shoulder every night. A month later, the hospital room was cleared. Emily was going home, but not to her old apartment. No, her home now was Michael's home. A place filled with toy baskets in the living room, dishes washed side by side, and dinner tables centered around one daily question. So, what happened at school today? The first night was tough for Emily. But the next morning, when she woke up to the sound of laughter, everything changed. As the days passed, Michael stepped back from the office. He passed on the CEO title. He stayed as chairman, sure, but business was no longer the center of his world. The center was spilled milk at breakfast, cartoon theme songs echoing through the house, and colorful crayon-written notes on the fridge that read, "We love our daddy." And then, in spring, they threw a little birthday party. In the backyard, balloons, cupcakes, a tiny magician. But the real magic happened when Emily took the mic, looked around, and said, "Life gave me a second chance. One I never expected, but one I'll never let go of. And to the man who brought it to me, thank you. For finding us. For staying." Michael's eyes filled. In that moment, he knew. He wasn't alone anymore. None of them were. That night, after the kids had gone to bed, Michael and Emily sat out on the back porch. The stars above were bright, the breeze gentle. Emily asked, "Do you ever wonder? What if I had called you back then?" Michael nodded slowly. "Yeah, maybe things would have happened sooner. But I don't know if we'd be this strong. Look at us now. Sure, life's messy, noisy, exhausting, sometimes even chaotic. But it's our mess. Our story." Emily rested her head on his shoulder. "You're not that same man anymore." Michael smiled. "And you're not a woman alone anymore." As they walked back inside, a note caught Michael's eye. Pinned to the fridge, written in wobbly letters with rainbow markers. "Home is where everyone is together. Always." Michael stared at it. His heart swelled. And in that quiet moment, one truth rang loud and clear. This is a miracle, and I'm never letting it go. If this story touched your heart, if you felt a man becoming a father and a quiet woman finding her strength again, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Because the stories we share here aren't just fiction. One day, they might just find their way into your life too.